Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
Tuesday and all of our guests today brought to you by our title sponsor. It's Able Auctions, ableauctions.ca. Bayside Oceanside Resort in Parksville, inbox. Unsigned. The reason Matt looks so concerned on that goal is because he's scouting the defender that got his ankle broken. Yes, Ryan, that's a decades-old saying.
Thank you.
A lot of people are backing Rick and I saying broke his ankles goes way back to and one submission here goes back to the 70s.
You say decades. You know decades now could go back to like 2000. That's decades.
Well, this one submission, not that one, but another one says the 70s. That's more. You know, last time I checked, that was before the 2000s. You weren't around. You were born in what?
I know what
last year.
I don't even remember hearing it in the 90s. Like I remember hearing
you were 2 years old back then.
I still remembered.
Yeah.
I still remember. But no, I think this is a post 2000 saying.
Okay.
Dwight and Chilliwack just told you that in the 70s he remembers late 70s and 80s. I do remember that term too.
Breaking ankles?
Breaking ankles.
Yeah.
Dwight's telling you right there.
I don't know.
Yeah, you remember that when you were born in what, 91?
Yeah.
Come on.
Oh, how would you know anything in the 70s and 80s?
You know
anything.
You know what I think? Looking at Sedins there, I don't think he was watching.
He was on his phone.
He was on his phone.
He was on his phone.
Chaika's texting him. Wow, you see that goal?
One of them newfangled cell phones.
Have you found the new coach?
Brandon Astle will join us now, voice of the Abbotsford Canucks. Of course, Abbotsford head coach the last 2 seasons. Manny Malhotra reportedly in negotiations with the Vancouver Canucks. And
he is.
Brandon joins us now. Brandon, thanks for doing this, sir. Long time no talk to. How are you?
Boys, what's going on? I was actually going to come on here with hopefully a disparaging picture of Moj as my background, just to stand up for you guys a little bit.
Oh.
But on the Google Images, there's not a single bad picture of the Moj. He's at the Super Bowl. He's got the cigar in the mouth, so I couldn't find one.
Well, you know what? Go back. If you want to find a really good picture, go back to the 80s when he claims he looks like Tom Selleck.
Tom Selleck.
Oh, okay. I'll have to be more specific with my search next time.
Yeah. Okay, so Ryan Johnson, the Sedins, Manny Malhotra. Who's left to run things out there in Abbotsford? Are you in charge now?
Yeah.
You know what, boys? I got my phone handy right next to me to see if it blows up anytime soon. But no, it's always a good thing when not just players are moving up to the big club, but staff as well. Ryan Johnson has done a great job of building a foundation in Abbotsford, building something that the guys can be proud of. And part of that is the Highway 1 wall right next to the locker room. Outside the locker room, there's a wall dedicated to anybody, whether you're staff or players. If you've been called up to the big leagues, you get a picture on the wall. It's an action shot of you playing or coaching, or like the video coach is on there, the trainer's on there. It's an action shot of them on the bench. It's really neat, and they're running out of space. They need to use the wall next to it next year, because that's how many guys Ryan and Manny and other coaches in the past have moved out to the big club. So just so great to see RJ and others get their shot.
And a lot of people will tell you, Brandon, those photos moving faster than the traffic on Highway 1. So what did you notice, Brandon, when it comes to, let's start here, when it comes to, you talked about Ryan Johnson, when it comes to the Sedins, what did you notice about their on-ice involvement, or just their involvement in general, when it came to the prospects in Abbotsford?
Yeah, from day one since I've been there, they have been very hands-on. There's been some times where I went to go grab the coach a few hours before the game, but I couldn't get an interview because they're talking with the Sedins, and I'm not going in there to break up that conversation. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of starstruck. I was starstruck to say the least when that first happened, but then you see them around the rink all the time, whether it was in training camp out in Abbotsford, Chilliwack, at practices. Like, if you show up to practice, there's a very good chance there's a Sedin on the ice. They're very hands-on. They're pulling players aside, picking their brain, giving them tips. I remember there was one college free agent that signed in the spring, and he told me that, like, one of the Sedins came on the ice and he nudged one of his teammates. He's like, they actually, like, come on here and, like, help out? Like, he was just so surprised that it was the case, and that's just what they do. They do it quietly. They do it in Vancouver. They do it in Abbotsford. I mean, you can't ask for two better guys to learn from. They're Hockey Hall of Famers. They've been with Vancouver their entire career, whether as players or in a development role. You can't find anyone that says a bad thing about them. Like, they're just such incredible people. Like, you want your kids, your son, to grow up like them. They're just hardworking. They really put the time in. They really care. And I'm just so happy to see them get this opportunity. And I know the players feel very comfortable around them. Like, after games, I walk down around the locker room, the Sedins are pulling them aside, talking about like a scenario that happened in the game, whether it was a 2-on-1 or a power play situation. I mean, if you're a player hearing that, you're going to take in that information, and that is going to be gospel. So to see them work so hard behind the scenes, and now they're the two guys calling the shots, it's really cool.
Last coach to go from the minors to Vancouver, Travis Green. Now, the big question is, and you've been watching him for 2 years now, is he ready, Manny Malhotra, in your eyes, to be a head coach in the NHL?
Without a doubt, Rick. Like Ryan Johnson, Manny's a tone setter. It was a game changer when Ryan hired him to become head coach in Abbotsford a few years ago, and came out of left field. I'm sure no one knew that he was available or what he wanted to do. Obviously, He was an assistant in Toronto. And Ryan Johnson wanted one guy for the job, and he ended up getting him. And he was just the perfect fit because, Rick, a lot of guys in Abbotsford were in his shoes when he was a player. Like, Manny was a high pick. He went 7th overall, I believe, in 98 to the Rangers. And it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows out of the gates. Manny played in 3 different leagues. A couple years after he was drafted, he was in the NHL, AHL, went back to the OHL. So he struggled trying to navigate what type of player he was going to be. And obviously felt the pressures of being that top pick, and it just wasn't really catching at the pro level. And so he had to make a decision and find a role for himself, which he did beautifully, which turned out to be a reliable 200-foot center that was tough to play against. And he brought that grinding mentality to the coaching ranks. He has a lot of characteristics that you look for in a coach, and it's almost like he's like a Swiss Army knife. He brings so much to the table. He's intelligent. He's motivating. He creates a connection to his players. He brings a lot of structure. The culture he brings to the table is unreal. He's very personable. He'll ask how the wife and kids are doing. He takes time out of his day to check in on his players, which you don't see a lot of coaches do nowadays. Practices are very important. Like, if he does get the role in Vancouver, you're going to see practices look a lot different. Very fast paced. You're going to see a coach out there wearing a helmet and a visor. He's taking part of the drills. He'll be barking at guys if they're not looking sharp. And you'll hear him use the word process a lot. He's very process driven, and he wants his players to stick to the principles that he put in place. And he's someone that wouldn't do something that he wouldn't do himself. And like, he is still in phenomenal shape, boys. Like, he is absolutely jacked. Same with Ryan Johnson. Like, those two guys are in the gym all the time. They're getting a sweat on. And I can only imagine what the players think when they peek inside the gym and see their head coach and GM pumping the iron on the treadmill. Like, that's got to be motivating to get in there and get a sweat on yourself. So he's very hands-on, and there's just been so many scenarios where I've just been like in awe of what he's doing on a day-to-day behind the scenes. Like, for a Sunday game in Abbotsford, they're usually at 3 o'clock. I'll get to the rink at around 11 a.m. And who's out there putting the scratches and injured players through their paces? It's the head coach, Manny Malhotra. And he's not just blowing a whistle. He's out there taking part in the drills. He's getting a sweat on, which I'm sure the guys appreciate. Like, he's going into battle with them, where a lot of head coaches delegate those sessions to the assistants. The head coach would never be seen, let alone 4 hours before a game. So he's just the perfect guy to come in and set a new foundation and a culture in the locker room, and can't say enough good things about him.
What player did he develop and went to Vancouver where you said, you know what, Manny's responsible for this guy?
There's a lot that he is responsible for these last few years, but the one that I just always stands out is Linus Karlsson.
Yep.
Manny was always someone that was a big fan of Linus. And when you look at his game, Rick, he's not the fastest guy in the world.
Yep.
He's not the most skilled. Manny knew what he brought to the table, and that's kind of the grinding mentality that Manny had. He's in the corners. He's in front of the net. He's got a very heavy stick. And most importantly, like, he's going to be one of the hardest working guys on the ice every single time. Not just in games. The kicker, Rick, is in practice.
Yeah.
That is when Linus really fine-tuned his craft, and having the opportunity for him to work with a guy like Manny Malhotra and the Sedins, you can see it really pay off in spades. And I had no doubt that Linus was going to be a full-time NHLer. And obviously he's a little older than most prospects, right? He's 26 years old now, so he's not young anymore. And it was kind of put up or shut up time. And Linus really took his time in Abbotsford to heart. He worked hard. He wasn't getting caught up in all the headlines of guys that were getting called up and why wasn't he getting the call. He just knew that if he kept putting the work in Abbotsford, that he would get that opportunity. And sure enough, he had a breakout season in his rookie year, and I think he's still got a lot to give and a high ceiling. So Linus is definitely one guy that stands out that learned a lot from Manny.
Brandon, before we let you go, everything's been positive with this conversation. This may be negative. What do you think's in Jonathan Lekkerimäki's future?
I'm still very high on his future. This is still a young guy that has a lot of tools that not many young guys do. Obviously, we know about the shot. I think his hockey IQ and playmaking is a little bit underrated, and that's still developing in his game. You look at the numbers, Donnie. He's put up some pretty good stats in the American Hockey League, and this is a league that is not very kind for people that want to put up some numbers. He's been one of the best goal scorers on a team in the last few years. Obviously, there's parts of his game, like any young player, that you got to work on. In his own end, battles, obviously, you got to win one-on-one battles more often than not if you're going to stick in the NHL, and that's something that he's got to work at. He's been injured a little bit, and obviously he got shut down early this year in February to get surgery so that he's fully prepared to have a big summer and coming to training camp fully healthy. And there's two guys that know what he brings to the table very well, and it's Ryan Johnson and Manny Malhotra. They know how to get the best out of him. And like Manny's early career, it hasn't been all sunshine and rainbows, but when Jonathan is on his game, he is a very tough player to stop. And if he's in the NHL, being taught by Manny and led by Ryan up top, and the Sedins obviously around as well, that's going to bode well for his chances to become a full-time NHLer. So I'm still high on the kid.
Brandon, outstanding. Thanks so much for doing this. We won't wait so long next time around to have you on again.
Sounds good, boys. Always a pleasure. Take care.
You bet.